Dear friends, welcome to yet another installment of Strategic Power. In Germany, the radical right is gaining strength, and the country's internal secret service is warning that the AfD party is becoming more radicalized with anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-government policies. The Alternative for Germany party is growing in the polls like never before. The AfD accuses its opponents, mainly the parties in power, of betraying the nation, and one of the party's main figures, Björn Höcke, portrays himself as the country's saviour. In the next regional elections in 2024, the AfD may even become more influential in much of eastern Germany, leading in the polls. Other parties and right-wing radical policy specialists warn of the danger of the AfD's rise, some even calling it neo-Nazi. But is this true? Does the AfD go beyond just being a radical right-wing party, and can it be classified as neo-Nazi in Germany? The Nazi term is taken very seriously. The Nazis led by Adolf Hitler were responsible for World War II and the genocide of millions of Jews and other minorities. That is why, in Germany, after the Nazis' defeat in World War II, all fascist and Nazi parties were banned. The AfD strongly denies the accusations of being a neo-Nazi party. They claim that anyone in Germany who opposes the government or immigration is labelled a Nazi. However, when people associate the AfD with Nazism, they are often referring to Björn Höcke. He is the leader of the parliamentary group in the state of Thuringia, and probably the most influential and radical politician in the AfD. In 2010, he actively participated in a demonstration organised by neo-Nazis and was filmed there. In Germany, it is legal to call Björn Höcke a Nazi. The courts have decided that this does not constitute an insult, but a statement protected by freedom of expression and an assessment based on facts. Höcke, a history teacher, often addresses Germany's Nazi past in a controversial way. He rejects the idea that Germans should assume collective responsibility for the crimes committed during the Nazi regime, including the Holocaust. Instead, he seeks a radical change in how the Nazi era is remembered, moving from a condemnation of the crimes to a possible glorification of the period. On several occasions, Höcke has been accused of using terms with historical meanings, such as earlier this year, when he was accused of using the slogan of the Nazi Party's SA paramilitary group at a campaign event 2 years before. The slogan in question was "Everything for Germany." Prosecutors in the city of Halle claim Höcke was fully aware of the meaning of the expression. The case is still in the courts. But why does Höcke take such a radical stance, even aware of the potential consequences? According to Matthias Quent, an expert on right-wing extremism, it is due to the normalization strategy he employs regarding National Socialist history. By provoking and irritating, Höcke draws attention to himself, then being able to present himself as a victim, while for his neo-Nazi and far-right followers, he becomes a martyr. Björn Höcke's actions have put the Alternative for Germany party under rigorous scrutiny from the country's security authorities. The National Intelligence Service says it has sufficient grounds to consider the AfD a threat to democracy because of its anti-Islamic and racist elements. The AfD has repeatedly rejected these accusations, but they go beyond Björn Höcke. Former MP Wolfgang Gedeon was also suspected during his campaign for the AfD. He used a vehicle with a personalised licence plate L11. The L stands for the city of Leonberg, while AH and the number 18 are known codes among neo-Nazis. AH refers to Adolf Hitler, and 1 and 8 represent the letters A and H in the alphabet. Therefore, the car's license plate presents an encoded version of Adolf Hitler 3 times. Gedeon also visited the Wolfschanze, translated as Wolf's Lair, one of Adolf Hitler's headquarters during World War II. He confirmed the authenticity of a photo in which Gedeon can be seen posing with his hand over his heart in front of Hitler's bunker. The AfD has now nominated him as a candidate for the European Parliament, stating, "We will continue and follow our path to power until the end, because we are the only party that still represents German interests here in Germany," Gedeon said. There is clear evidence of National Socialist influence within the AfD, with individuals directly identifying themselves in that way, following that tradition and using terms, including National Socialist terms, purposefully, which are sometimes perceived or justified as individual representations. The point is that this is already integrated into the general political agenda, into the right-wing political orientation, of the AfD, observed Matthias Quent. The AfD is clamoring for a radical change in refugee and immigration policies, even advocating the deportation of millions of people from Germany. And that's not all. Many of the party's top politicians have repeatedly and falsely stated that not all German passport holders are in fact German, an idea that goes against the constitution. Experts point out that this is mainly an attempt to deny the right to German citizenship for Muslims and blacks. Matthias Quent notes that the AfD has allied itself with groups that oppose the current parliamentary democracy and flirt with fascism and a right-wing revolution. One of the best known is the so-called State Policy Institute. This institute has been classified as far-right by intelligence services, and the AfD maintains a close relationship with it. In 2019, the AfD's current co-leader stated that this institute would be an elite training centre for the party, and Quent emphasises, "There is Nazi ideology within the AfD, and as a whole the party is far-right. We know from attitudes that the AfD has a large proportion of members who are radical and have a closed and radical worldview. This must be recognised. On the other hand, there are individual members who distance themselves from this." Niklas Frank, son of one of the most notorious war criminals of the Nazi regime, Hans Frank, also has a clear opinion on the AfD. He believes the AfD is gradually moving towards a racist and anti-Semitic platform, abandoning its democratic values. Frank compares this shift to a tectonic shift, with the racist and anti-Semitic plate slowly overlapping the democratic plate. He warns that although there are no democratic volcanic eruptions in the AfD, there are small democratic volcanoes that are slowly dying. In summary, there is much evidence showing connections between AfD politicians and Nazi language or ideology. Although the AfD itself has confirmed many individual cases, it strongly denies systematically following Nazi ideology and language, and claims to have expelled members with connections to far-right extremists in the past. However, far-right extremism researchers like Matthias Quent don't believe them. They warn that the AfD represents a threat to society and insist on the need for drastic measures against racism, anti-Semitism, and anti-democratic attitudes to prevent the bloody history of Nazism from repeating itself in Germany.